Good morning. I'm Glenna Milberg. We begin today with the international developments hitting home here in South Florida. After a night of watching those streaks of an unprecedented rocket attack from Iran over Israel, they are reporting, along with U.S. and others' efforts, 99% of more than 300 drones and missiles intercepted, though what is reported to be the fatal injury of a little girl hit by falling shrapnel. This morning, tight tension and fears of escalation, and President Joe Biden just said he would convene a meeting of allies to coordinate a diplomatic response. Rewind about 16 hours as a tense and defense-ready country alerted citizens and battened down. A plane headed for South Florida was one of the last flights to leave Tel Aviv before Israel grounded flights and closed its airspace. Local 10's news producer Yarden Ben-David is just off that flight, literally. He was in Tel Aviv visiting family and is right here at the table with us today. So nice to have you from behind the scenes to right here at the table under the circumstances,
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you were at a wedding.
Yeah, it was the first wedding for the group of cousins. I couldn't miss it, and I knew that, you know, the war is ongoing and stuff, but it was something that we had to do. I didn't think that there would be drone attacks happening.
Because the war, at least from this side, the war is with Gaza, and all the attention is on Gaza and what is unfolding there. Mm-hmm. This, I suppose, is unrelated, but everything's related in a way in the complicated dynamics there. Mm-hmm. But was there anything while you were there to predict or anything to portend on the news that you should be watching this?
Honestly, I was headed to the airport and I didn't really know much about what was going on. It was a family trip. I wasn't watching the news. I was just trying to enjoy my time with my family. I went through check-in, security, didn't know what was happening at all. It wasn't until I actually sat down at the gate that my cousin called me and she was like, "Are you gonna be flying?" And then my mom called me, who's also in Israel right now. She called me, she's like, "Is your flight still going?" And then I just got call after call after call, and I'm like, what's going on? And then once I turned on the news on my phone, I realized that the drone attacks happened, and it was kind of frightening.
At the time that you were, and you were communicating with us in the newsroom at the same time while you were on the tarmac at Ben Gurion. And it's interesting to hear the spread of that news and the spread of the information, because you and people there knew long before we did here. But when there is a drone or a rocket or aerial attack of some sort, an airplane is going to be a really concerning place to be.
Right, exactly.
Was that in your head?
It was. I mean, we were all thinking when we were sitting on the plane, you know, people were talking around me and everyone's like, they're just putting us on the plane for no reason. They're wasting our time. There's no way we're going to fly.
Was that the attitude on the plane? It was just kind of,
everyone
it sounds
thought
like a
that
frustration?
everyone thought that we weren't flying.
No fear.
There were some people that were frustrated because they wanted to get back.
Yeah.
I personally was a little bit stressed, you know, I was scared because like you're about to go in the air when like drones are launching, like that's not the most comforting of situations.
Is this your video that we're watching right now?
Yeah, I recorded that as I was getting onto the plane. That's baggage claim once we landed. But everything was smooth sailing. They didn't really tell us much at all.
I wonder, you know, you try to sort of glean information by looking at people's faces. I'm thinking that there's such a difference between being a citizen of Israel and being the citizen of the United States in the fact that you live with existential threat your whole life, and that's just a fact. Can you sort of talk us through the demeanor of people on that flight and what Americans might find unusual about that?
I just feel that they didn't really tell us too much, and I feel like everyone was kind of just a little concerned about whether we were going to fly or not.
What you didn't know?
Yeah, we really didn't know. There was a point where the pilot came on. We thought that the airspace was going to close at 12:30. That's what was going on in the news.
At first, AM there,
yes.
Which would have been late afternoon.
It would have been 5:30 p.m. here.
Yeah.
It was something that all of us thought was going to happen. They were just going to shut the airspace. We weren't going to fly. But Then the pilot went on to say that the airspace was actually closing at 1, and we lifted off the tarmac at 12:58 a.m. So they let us go, and I think I felt a little bit relieved when I was on the plane to know that I was getting out of there, but at the same time I kind of felt guilty because my mom's there. You know, my whole mom's side, half my dad's side, they're all kind of living in fear right now, not sure what Israel's going to do after the attack.
And as you watch, and I know you and I would never put you in a position to opine on geopolitics.
Of course.
But I do want to hear, as someone with firsthand experience, we're hearing from officials, we're hearing from governments. We haven't really heard from people yet, and that's what I would like for you to fill in for us. What is there a hope? Is there an opinion of what should happen among Israeli families?
Personally, I don't know, besides for, you know,
Totally fair.
what I've seen. But what I can tell you is that there is a lot of camaraderie on the streets right now. A lot of people are protesting for, you know, the release of the hostages that are being held by Hamas right now. There are a lot more Israeli flags than I've normally seen on the streets of Tel Aviv. A lot more people, you know, being active about the situation. I think that everyone wants, you know, the hostages to come home and for there to be peace, but at some point you have to think if that's really possible or not.
I think peace is something that everybody wants. How to get there is a very different opinions on a lot of sides, as we know from democracies. That's what happens. Yarden Ben-David, and I want everyone to know that here we call him Yarden Ben-David, but since you're just back from Tel Aviv, Yarden Ben-David, it's great to have you.
Thank you
I know
so
you're
much.
really tired, and I really appreciate you coming in.
I'm actually okay.
Yeah,
Not
for now.
bad. For now.
All right, thanks so much.
Of course.
All right, and stay with Local 10 and ABC, of course, today for continuing coverage on Israel at war. Updates throughout the day on air and also online at local10.com.